Oh, hey there. I'm glad you stopped by the cafe. I've been working on this texture here. Um, I think I know what I want to do with it now. I've been thinking about how much I hate these thick strokes that I made, and yeah, it's just not gonna work at all. So I think I know how to remedy this problem. I was hoping that I still had my cube to work with, but it doesn't look like it. So let me see. I still have my guides up. That helps. I'm going to actually half them. So I'm going to use the midpoint there and snap it to the intersection there. And let's see how this goes. I'm kind of curious. I'm not really sure what I want to do with it. I guess something like this, maybe. And then... oh, hold on. Nope. There we go. Oh, I see what's happening. Okay. Nope, I don't want to do that. I want to do that. Trying to figure out. Okay, I messed that one up. I didn't even see that. So one thing I don't want to talk about in this video is a common misunderstanding that I see a lot of people making when referring to textures, and that problem is, what does it mean to upscale a texture or image or whatever? And basically all that is telling a person is that it's been enlarged, because the word upscale is literally just that. It's upping the scale of the image, or the size of it, whatever you want to call it, the resolution. That's all it's really telling a person. It's not describing like the process that it goes through after the upscale or anything like that. So it's led a lot of people to assume things like it's been filtered, such as using Waifu 2x or a similar program like that. And really, that's not the case at all. It's just a common misconception that people have made. That's why I prefer calling them redraws, because it's more of a informative way of describing it, I guess you could say. It's telling you exactly what's going on. It's not misleading. So I guess this works. I really don't like going back through here to do all these, but if that's what it takes, then I'm gonna do it. Okay, let's make sure that everything lined up right. I don't want to have to come back again. Okay, I need to get these cubes off of this one, move them off. So I guess I'll talk about in this video. I know my voice is very monotone, and I'm hoping that maybe that'll get better as I start doing these videos more often. I know how much it probably is unbearable to listen to my voice, and believe me, I don't like my voice. but it's my voice. I can't really change that. It's just something I've got to live with. I feel like everyone can change a certain amount of characteristics about themselves, so I should be able to improve my speaking a little bit, maybe. Another thing I've been tossing around in my head is, what do I really want to call this channel? Because the name I gave it right now is kind of just a placeholder. I don't really know what I want to call it. I want it to make sense. I want it to be informative. And I don't want it to be silly and ridiculous. Where did I put the rectangle? There it is. No, that's not it. What? Oh, okay, that's right. I never made one, did I? One of the other things I was thinking about is that maybe since there's already a bunch of channels out there on like how to do stuff in Inkscape, mine's not really going to focus on that aspect of it, but rather kind of just be a place to chill and relax, hopefully. I figured maybe it could be just me kind of discussing things about how I do my work and other topics that might be of interest. Yeah, I kind of just want to be one of those channels that you just like to visit from time to time. Not something that demands your attention, but something that's just like an enjoyable pastime, really. Because I don't like channels that are intrusive, that are like, you need to watch this because blah blah blah, but more of like an interesting subject that you might want to spend a few moments to take a look at. Okay. Some may say that I rely on guides too much, and they would be 100% right. Zero regrets. I'm gonna have to add another joint to that, because once I size it down, there's gonna be an empty spot here, but I can fix that pretty easily. Whoops, sorry about that. I hate those sounds. I probably need to figure out how to turn that off. I just really haven't spent the time to do it. There we go. So, should be able to, there we go. Something like that. started doing textures a couple years back. I was actually pretty young at the time. I started with a game that I still actually love a lot. It's the original Animal Crossing. And at the time, I had zero experience doing textures. And actually, my methods weren't entirely correct. I was just using a program to upscale and filter the textures, because they are very low res textures. I made an error in one of the previous videos in saying that the highest resolution is 64 by 64. I believe it went as far as 128 by 128, but still, you're looking at graphics that were from the N64 era that were being put on a newer console, that being the GameCube, which had a lot different quality textures of the time with the games that it was releasing. Somehow, yeah. Somehow I missed this. There we go. So yeah, it was something I never noticed as a kid, to be honest, playing the game. I never thought about the textures or the resolution. I thought that it was actually a very high-end game for that time. It's funny how your perspective can change over time like that. What in the world? Okay. What? Y'all seeing that? Bonkers. I don't know why it did that. It's like, I have these weird problems with Inkscape only when I'm doing videos. I normally don't have them. So, I don't really know. You know what? Why am I doing it this way? I could do it this way. Ugh, why? Why you do this? How does that even make sense? I don't even get why it does that. See that? I really, really wish that this was a thing, that you could take the width of the stroke and snap stuff to that. That would be so helpful. Please, please make that a feature at some point. Or maybe it is a feature I just don't know about. I'm one of those people that I learn how to use a program the way that I'm going to use it, and then there's like a lot of mysterious features that I probably never learn about until I've been using it like for a year or longer. I guess it's kind of sad, but it is what it is. It's another thing. Why is that not snapping to the midpoint? It'll snap if I put a guide there, but come on, do I really have to put a guide there every time? It'd be a lot more simpler if it would just snap. I should stop complaining. It's not doing anything for me. I promise I didn't abandon that stroke over there. I'm going to come back to it. I just got on a tangent with this. See, what did it snap to there? Oh my goodness. See how the bounding box is going over that other one? It wouldn't have been snapping to the bounding box of that, so then is it snapping to the stroke width? I'm kind of boggled by that. Inkscape can be weird sometimes, like that right there. I don't want to drag that. I guess I could lock it, but it's kind of a hassle. Okay, so here's the thing. I guess it snaps when I'm in select mode to the bounding box of the stroke, but if I'm in the node editor, it's not going to do that. Big oof. And this is one of those parts where I'm so tempted to just cheat by dropping a cube up there and coloring it that, but my OCD is so crazy that it won't actually let me do that, because I know what's going to happen is there's going to be a seam there, and I'm going to look at that and I'm going to be so mad that I didn't just do this. See, there, did it again that time. But if I try to do this, watch. What? Oh, well, I have a guide there. Never mind. Forget I said anything. Okay. See, that's another thing. Snap. Snap to the bounding box of the stroke. Alright, it doesn't have a wide bounding box down there because this goes over. Okay. I think it was actually further on this side, so I'm gonna move it back over a little bit. This actually needs to come over a bit. That should be about center. So to make this perfectly center, really what we need to do is take and get us a midpoint there and call this a hack or whatever you want to, but I've just kind of gotten used to doing this. If I need a spot in between two objects, I get a midpoint from creating something in between them. Because you can snap the bounding boxes to the edges, and then you have your midpoint right there, drop a guide on it, and boom, you're done. That's pretty much it. I feel like that's a pretty easy, straightforward way. You can't really mess that up. Kind of way of doing it. Okay, let me get rid of all these cubes. Except for one, just so I have it for the future. Okay, let's see how this looks. I think I know what I need to do here, and that's some of these lines that are touching the other parts, they're blending in too much. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to decide on one of these sides to change the color, and I'm going to either make it lighter or darker. Since it really doesn't matter with the lighting on this one here, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to change all the ones that are on the left and make them a tad bit darker. So let's see how that looks. Any of the ones that are in the center, I'm leaving them, or the right, leaving that one. So just that. Should be it. I like that a lot more. I feel like that fits it better. No, it doesn't. Dang it. This is like writer's block, but for texture artists. I think they need to be contrasting colors, but not to the point that it looks like complete garbage. And pulling that off is hard, especially with this, because you have all these hard angles. I'm not used to working with hard angles like that, but okay. I feel like I'm gonna make an executive decision here and make that one flow with the rest, just for the sake of consistency here. Also gonna make that one and that one, because what we're doing here is we're alternating colors, and it doesn't need to have really a pattern to it. It needs to look uniform, but enough difference in it to actually trick your mind to make you think that it looks a certain way. Now, I'm trying to think, looking at it from a distance, there are definitely a lot darker strokes in the middle than on the original. Even though we used colors that were in those areas, it's still not really accurate to it. So I need to come up with another idea. I can try lighter strokes possibly. And I think I'm going to start with this one here. Go through all these, that way I can keep my pattern going. Just change one set of colors at a time. What in the world? Oh, I got that by accident. No wonder. Okay, I like that color a lot more. Only problem is that should have been in that group, and so did that. Oh, that's why I clicked that by accident. I'm gonna leave it there. I think that looks good. One other thing that I thought I would mention is some may argue that the gradients on these keys isn't really accurate, and I'll be honest, it's hard to really determine something like that, but I thought I would try to show something here. We could technically use a linear gradient instead of a radial gradient instead of a linear one. And let's see what that would look like real quick. There we go. So let's say, what? Oh my goodness. There we go. Okay, so let's say we were to do that and convert it to linear. Well, we would need to do something like this. To make it look right. And I don't like that. It just looks messy. You can't really get a good radial gradient with something like this because it's conflicting with the actual design of the key itself. So while these may from a distance look like they were a radial gradient, they're actually not going to look right if you make them radial gradients. I don't know what else to really say about it. So at this point I wanna just export this. I'm done with it. If I get feedback and it's negative, I'll try to fix it. Okay, so we got these other textures that are corresponding to the rest of the piano. We need to try to match them up so that it's all unified. That is probably a really easy texture. I'm just gonna make that white since that's the side of the keys. It needs to be white. I don't care that they have this weird kind of RGB thing going on in there. That's just like highly compression color artifact going on there kind of stuff. Same thing going on all here. I don't believe in translating that over into an HD version because back when they made these, those are the type of compression artifacts you probably could have expected from that era. So if they were to remaster this game today, it definitely wouldn't look like that. It would look a lot more like what I'm going for here. Well, that's my opinion at least. Okay. There we go. So I'm gonna go through and delete some of these guides that are just straight up confusing. It's not like I'm gonna need them right now. No, I don't want to delete that. Right now, they're just kind of a nuisance. They're getting in my way. So what this does now is I can see exactly where this is going to line up, and I don't have to do any guesswork. I know exactly what I need to do here. Pretty straightforward. Drop some guides down here. So one thing that I got asked about a couple years ago when I started doing textures was what games would I want to redraw in the future. And I've had a lot of time to think about that, and really comes down to some of my favorite games that I played growing up that I would like to redraw the textures for. I actually get enjoyment from doing these textures. I don't know if that's the same for everybody, or if it's just to do with my attachment with them growing up as a kid, but I really do like these textures, and I like learning how to do stuff like this because it's good experience. I mean, this can be used in a lot of different aspects. Where was I going with this? So I guess back to the point. What games would I want to redraw? One of them that's on my list that I would really like to do is Luigi's Mansion for the GameCube. And I think I've learned a lot from doing these textures for Super Mario 64. Before that, I was used to just doing like flat colors, which is what Animal Crossing has a lot of. But doing these, I've actually gotten experience in kind of like a pseudo lighting and shading in Inkscape and how to pull that off correctly. And granted, I still have a lot of places that I need experience and could learn, but I actually know enough as it stands that it won't take me that long to do that. What happened with this? Oh. So yeah, one of them would be Luigi's Mansion. Another one, actually an N64 title that I was wanting to do right after this one, but I'm still tossing it around in my head, is Paper Mario 64. Literally one of my favorite games. And I know it has a lot of textures already, because I've played through it a few times. But it definitely doesn't have as many as Animal Crossing does. I know that. Animal Crossing for the GameCube has over 10,000 textures. And that's counting everything. That's counting the environment, the UI, the characters, all the expressions of all the characters, all the items, all the models for all the items, everything. That's a lot of textures, and it's still a project. compared to Super Mario 64. Super Mario 64 has roughly 1,000 textures, and we've almost knocked them all out. A lot of them are easy ones, you know. Another one of my favorite games is Super Paper Mario for the Wii. And I know there's already a pack out there for that, but in my opinion, it's not really a true vanilla experience, because what the guy did, and I don't want to seem negative because I appreciate the work he put into it, but I just want to do it in my own way to bring over a more pure experience for people that just want to play like stock vanilla but HD. He changed some of the textures and kind of put his own designs in them, and while that's okay to do sometimes, the only time that I have ever really done that is when it's up to you to really decide like what was going on. If there's not a lot of guesswork involved, then just stick to how the normal one is. You know, don't change it. But some textures are just so mangled and messed up that it takes a little bit of discretion on your part to figure out like what in the world were they thinking when they drew this. So for me, I appreciate his work, but I'd really like to just do it myself to make sure it's a pure vanilla experience. That's such a weird texture, but you know, I think it'll look better in game probably. And go ahead and export that as well. Oh my goodness, this is one of those points where I really hate Inkscape because of the way that it snaps sometimes. Okay, finally got that. Super annoying. Reason why I did this like this is because this gradient here doesn't make a lot of sense. like, where's the lighting coming from? Why is it going at this angle and also at this angle, but not like in between at all? It's not like a real light source. So it just makes more sense to do it this way, in my opinion. Okay, well, that's all the textures for this. I think they turned out alright. I may have to revisit them later on, but they look pretty solid right now, so I'm gonna hang on to that for now. Yeah, so I guess this is it. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.